Mara stepped into Dust Hollow beneath a sky the color of bruised silver. Blood dried at the corner of her lip, and a tarnished ring clung to her finger like a ghost refusing to let go. No cart followed her. No kin walked beside her. Only a frayed cloak hung around her shoulders, the last whisper of a life that had already burned away. Welcome to Whispers, with Ivy. Eyes followed her down the crooked street. Voices curled through the wind. Witch, cursed, the widow who drove her husband to the grave. But the truth was quieter and crueler. Her husband hadn't run from her. He had drowned 4 winters ago when the river burst its banks. She'd waited for him in a frozen shack with 1 candle and a single rabbit for food. When hope finally cracked, she buried his coat beneath the snow and kept walking until her boots carried her here, to the edge of nowhere. Dust Hollow was not a place for the tender-hearted. Its streets were jagged with spite, and its people believed cruelty was a kind of strength. They whispered that silence hid wickedness, and lies came easier than breath. In her first week, a girl tossed muddy water across her skirt. In her second, a storekeeper struck her for questioning shorted change. In her third, someone smeared grime across the church pew where she tried to sit, and the preacher turned away. Mara slept behind the cooper shop in a rotting lean-to, the nights slicing her skin like shattered glass. She scrubbed tavern floors, skinned game, cleaned rooms where weary women smiled through tears. Every bruise had a name, every insult a familiar echo, but she endured it, jaw tight, eyes unbroken. Because a woman alone learns to bury her heart deep, where no one can touch it. One afternoon, at the livestock market, the richest rancher in 3 valleys leaned against a post, watching her fall. His name was Jax Varon, the man they called the Iron Bull. His land stretched as far as a horse could run in a day. His temper further still. That day, a butcher's nephew shoved Mara into the dirt. She didn't cry out. Blood trickled down her chin as boys laughed around her. Then Jax moved, slow, deliberate, like thunder deciding where to strike. He stood before the man and asked, quiet as dusk, "You finished?" The man smirked. "She ain't your concern." Jax spat into the dust, then hit him once, and silence swallowed the square. Dust hung in the air like suspended breath. He turned to Mara, offered his hand. She didn't take it. Trust was a language she'd forgotten. So he knelt beside her instead. "This ain't kindness, and it ain't pity. I need a wife. I'm done searching. Say yes, and no one will ever lay a hand on you again." She looked at the faces circling her, those same faces that had thrown stones, now waiting for a show. She thought of the lean-to, the cold, the laughter, then nodded once. They married at dusk. No chapel, no vows, just a paper, a ring, and silence that meant more than words ever could. Jax's ranch stood firm against the wind, a house of timber and stone beneath a sea of sky. Inside it smelled of dust, wood smoke, and something that had gone cold long ago. He didn't touch her, didn't demand. He worked, spoke little, and gave her space like it was respect. When she coughed, he brought water. When her hands split, he brought gloves. When she was too tired to stand, he let her rest. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was peace, and that was rarer. At night, she slept without fear for the first time in years. That alone felt holy. Still, a question lingered in the dark. What kind of man saves a woman the whole world had chosen to break? And what kind of ghosts did he keep buried under his quiet? She found one answer in the backyard, a grave beneath a pear tree, its stone nameless. Jack stood there sometimes, shoulders heavy, eyes far away. When she asked, he only said she hated roses, said they smelled like funerals. Mara didn't press. Grief knows its own language. The days bled into weeks. She learned to cook what the land offered, to mend saddles, to ride. When she asked Jax to teach her how to shoot, he raised a brow, then handed her a rifle. "It'll kick like a mule," he warned. The shot knocked her flat on her back, and she laughed. For the first time in years, she laughed. He turned away, hiding a smile she wasn't meant to see. By summer, Mara could shoot straight and skin a hare clean. The people in Dust Hollow noticed. Their laughter stopped. Their stares shifted from mockery to fear. But fear never sleeps for long. One night, a stranger came to the ranch, reeking of liquor and bad intentions. "So you're the new wife," he slurred, stepping close. Mara lifted her rifle before he could blink. His grin faltered. "Tell your husband Calver Collins coming. He owes me, and I collect what's mine." When Jax returned, his jaw clenched like iron. "He's not wrong," he said. "There were debts. Men you don't want to meet in the dark." He said no more. Winter fell early that year, hard and merciless. Snow buried the fences, and whispers carried on the wind. They worked through storms, wrapped in scarves and silence. Together, they endured. Until the letter came. The church branded Mara a witch again. The town demanded cleansing. Jax read it once, then tossed it into the fire. The next morning he rode into Dust Hollow with Mara at his side. He stood in the church doorway, voice echoing like thunder. "If any one of you touches her again, I'll bury this town myself." No one spoke. Fear had a face now. His. But hatred is a weed that grows in the dark. That night, someone nailed a dead hare to their door. Mara tore it down, scrubbed the blood clean, and set her rifle beside the bed. Peace is never given. It's taken and kept. Weeks later, smoke rose from the west pasture, the word witch carved into a stone by the stream. That night, Jax sharpened his knife until his fingers bled. Mara wrapped them, silent. Their vow needed no words. Days later, Jax returned home, bloodied and silent. "Calvar," he said finally. "He's coming. For everything." Mara met his eyes. "Then we'll be ready." When Calvar came, he brought riders and fire. Gunfire cracked across the ranch. Mara dropped behind the porch rail and fired back, steady, fearless. Jax fought through a wound in his arm, refusing to fall. When silence came, only the wind moved. "They'll come again," she said. He nodded. "And I may not stop them next time." "Then I will." Before dawn, she rode alone into the canyon, rifle at her side, knife on her belt. She found their camp by firelight, waited, moved like a shadow. When the first man turned, she slit his throat. The second fell before his scream could rise. Calvar emerged, grinning. "You think you can end what we started? I already did." They fought. Teeth, blood, dust. His bullet grazed her arm. Her knife found his ribs, once, twice, until the fire took him and the night swallowed his scream. When she rode home, she was half alive, bleeding and swaying. She reached the ranch at dawn and collapsed at the gate. Jax carried her inside, cleaned her wounds, waded through the fever. On the fourth morning, she opened her eyes. "It's done," she whispered. "I know," he said. and for the first time, he smiled. Spring came slow, soft, forgiving. Dust Hollow went quiet when they passed. No jeers, only respect, and something like shame. Months later, a young girl came to their door, bruised and trembling. Mara looked at her and saw herself. "Come in," she said. The girl stayed, learned to ride, learned to fight, learned to live without fear. Years turned. The pear tree bloomed again, white as forgiveness. When Jax's time came, Mara buried him there, beside the nameless grave, marking the stone with a carved bull. She stood long in the wind, tears cutting paths through dust. Then she turned back toward the house, rifle slung over her shoulder, the girl walking beside her. Once, the world had tried to break her. Now it bowed when she passed. And from then on, peace looked exactly how Mara Varen decided it should. Tell me, where are you listening from tonight? I'd love to know how far Mara's story travels.